Are we ready to go? I think we've got everybody in. I want to welcome everybody. This is the new student welcome session for the incoming class of Northwestern's MEM program starting in the fall of 2026. Um, we've got a good incoming class starting this fall. I've got most of the staff here ready to answer questions. We also have a guest speaker. One of our illustrious faculty members will be joining us towards the end. So we're here to answer a lot of the questions that we anticipate you have, give you a sense of the timeline that we're going to be following between now and the fall, the things that you need to do to get ready to start the program this fall, as well as maybe some options you have, decisions you might need to be able to make, and some, I guess, timing in terms of how you're going to be interacting with us for the next 3 months or so. With that, let's get started here. I'm having a hard time getting to the next slide. Okay, here we go. So this is the agenda for today. Obviously, we're going to meet the staff. We got the staff online with us. Some course planning and academics. We're going to be going through that. Some degree enhancements, ways that you can enhance your MEM degree beyond the master's degree itself. Some activities, including pre-orientation activities, options to work on outside the classroom, how to stay connected, and then you'll hear from Professor Amjed Shafique, who is both an MEM alum, as I am, right? As well as he's probably one of our most illustrious and award-winning faculty members. In fact, he won a teaching award just this last year from the college. So we'll hopefully be able to track your questions. Anything not answered in this presentation will be answered at the end. And yes, we do have folks monitoring the chat room if you want to put something in chat. Otherwise, you can always send an email to us, mem@northwestern.edu, and we will get answers to you, okay? So this is the staff. Renaissance is our associate director. She's been with us for probably about 4 years now, from what I can remember. She manages both the MEM and MBAI programs and the staff associated with those programs. So she oversees some of the post-admission processes, the processes that get you to matriculation, scheduling, curriculum planning, student services, any kind of changes to your program will go through her office and her staff. Nicholas Ashton is actually the admission process getting us to that point. So in many ways, Nicholas works, from the point of application all the way through the point of admission, right? So these folks work together with me to make sure that this program runs. I think it's probably one of the smoothest running programs at McCormick. I'm not sure I'm allowed to say that. Renaissance is smiling. Hey, we've been around a long time. We're probably the oldest master's program, professional master's program at McCormick. We more or less invented the model that the other 10 or 11 programs follow. And in many ways, I think we've been leaders ever since. Supporting Renaissance is Karen and Daxon. They do a lot of the detailed course scheduling, student registrations, graduation planning and communication, event planning, and also guiding students to find answers across the school, across the university. In many ways, they are your Sherpas. They're going to help you get through the program from start to finish. Again, I mentioned I was an MEM alum. That was back in the 80s. I have about 30 years of experience in engineering. My focus was new product development. I spent a lot of time at Motorola, more than 20 years. I did spend some time at Northrop Grumman. I spent some time at WMS Gaming. My specialty was program management. I did program office construction, if you will. I built teams. I interviewed and managed and hired program managers from probably 3 or 4 different companies. And within Motorola, 3 or 4 different sectors. I actually worked in 3 or 4 different parts of that company. So I know that place really well. I also know a lot about electromechanical systems. Today, and for the last 12 years or so, I've been running the MEM program as the director, if you will. I only accept really the best students. So my job is to kind of filter out and make sure we have the best students surrounding you. So you're surrounded by the best of the best. Keeping the curriculum itself current and relevant and still within the field of engineering management. So there's a lot of topics we could cover. Engineering management is really exploring that overlap and that intersection of managing people, managing projects, managing products, and technology itself, right? And using the best analytical tools we can to do all of the above. helping you network to each other, to the community of seasoned professionals, making you aware of opportunities, plugging you into projects, and I guess various types of challenges that are out there in the world. That's part of my job as well, stretching you beyond your comfort zone, um, pushing you in directions that maybe you don't want to go until you get there, and then you realize this is what you needed all along. And part of the problem you have as students is that you don't know what you don't know. And you don't necessarily know what all the opportunities are and what all the challenges are. So our job is to kind of expose all of that. Bottom line, I'm here to develop you as a technology and engineering leader. So I don't think that is unknown, I guess, or perhaps too surprising. Northwestern is ranked third in U.S. institutions for industrial and manufacturing degrees. And new MEM, Northwestern MEM, is one of the oldest programs in the U.S., not just at McCormick, but within the country at large. We did not invent engineering management. However, other schools have invented it. We have built on that and created probably one of the strongest or one of the stronger master's programs in the country. We do combine engineering, technology, and business housed within the industrial engineering department. Our bias is more towards operations, entrepreneurship, as well as optimization using traditional IEOR techniques, right? We balance faculty from Northwestern proper that are research faculty with practitioners and clinical faculty. And actually, we're much more biased towards clinical faculty and practitioners. You do have the ability to take classes in different programs such as Kellogg, Medill, Farley, Siegel. These are all part and parcel of a very rich environment here at Northwestern in terms of different types of educational programs, educational centers. The Farley Center is entrepreneurship. Siegel Design is exactly what it sounds like. We have the beginnings of a design school here within the mechanical engineering department, within McCormick School of Engineering. Medill is well known for marketing and well known for communications and for journalism. And of course, everyone knows Kellogg. There's limits to how many courses you can take and how many are made available to you. And frankly, a lot of our students find it very useful to get jobs working in these locations so that you get, I guess, both the credentials of working for these organizations like Kellogg and getting exposed to their curriculum all at the same time without having to yield any of your 12 credits that are needed to graduate. You have the option. It's a very flexible program. You can finish in 9 months as a full-time student. You can finish in 15 months as a full-time student, right? And why is that? Because we define full-time study as either 3 classes or 4 classes per quarter. We're on the quarter system. You can finish in 9 months. A lot of our students do, especially those who know they want to go back home, or they already have a job and they're secured, or they have limited funds. There's a lot of reasons why they pick 9 months over 15. The 15-month students generally want an internship, and they schedule an internship over the summer before they graduate. The other thing we do, I think, pretty well is we introduce you to leaders in technology and business across the ecosystem. We have an alumni network with more than 17,000 members across 160 countries around the world, right? In terms of academics and course planning, again, we have a full-time and part-time option. Part-time students, by definition, are taking 1 or 2 classes per quarter, bottom line. So you can finish the program in as few as 3 years and perhaps as many as 5 years. So you have that flexibility as a part-time student. As a full-time student, you're either going to be taking, again, the 9 months or the 15. International students that are on an F1 visa are required to be full-time throughout their career. However, their last quarter of study, they can have what we call a reduced course load waiver, which I will sign, and the OISS processes for you that will allow you, from the State Department perspective, to be effectively a part-time student, but only in your last quarter. That's the only time an F1 visa student can do that. Full-time students, again, have the ability to complete areas of interest survey, to choose the plan they want to be on, and what kind of concentration or minor they might want to pursue while they're in school. When we say 15 months, we typically do not teach classes over the summer. So the summer is either a time for internship, a time for work, a time for exploring the country, but we don't have courses scheduled during that summer between, say, spring and fall. You could possibly take a course elsewhere, or what a lot of people do is they get internships and research projects to work on over the summer. International students are eligible for CPT after the 9-month window. So if you start in September, by June, you will be eligible for CPT, right? Summer internships are encouraged. We do not place you in them. We don't necessarily guarantee we can get you the internship of your choice. We make available internships that we are aware of, and we offer them to you. The rest is up to you to secure them and to decide what kind of internship you want and where you want to take that internship. Again, 9 months, fall, winter, spring. You graduate at the end of spring. It's probably the most cost-effective and time-efficient way to complete your degree. Bottom line, right? The 15 months, again, skips that summer. So you go fall, winter, spring, and then you come back for a second fall. So fall quarter, you get 2 bites of the apple. You graduate at the end of that fall quarter. There is typically a ceremony in December. We encourage you to actually participate in the June ceremony, only because that's where the vast majority of your fellow students will be. It also allows you to get involved with campus research if you're taking 15 months, clubs, seminars. It's a more gradual approach to finishing your degree instead of taking 4 classes every quarter, which really limits your spare time in terms of the ability to do almost anything else. So we do encourage folks to plug into the vast array. There's something like 300 or 400 student clubs. Student clubs alone are amazing. Some of our students become leaders in those clubs. Seminars, we just had the India Business Conference at Kellogg. We had MEM students participate in the planning and execution of that business conference. So many ways to plug in, many more than I can cover in this short session today. So these are the core classes. These are going to be planned out for you based on your survey and based on whether you're here for 9 months, 15, or whether you're part-time or full-time. 402 is our gateway course. Effectively, you're running a business with a team of students competing with other teams in the automotive space. So you're going to make decisions about how to spend your capital, how to spend your expense, headcount, engineering, marketing, how many products to pursue, what types of products, when to introduce them, et cetera, what markets to serve, what markets not to serve. These are classic business questions that every business has to answer. This gets complicated because there's a lot of data, there's a lot of information that you as a team will have to synthesize and manage and make decisions every week that represent a year of operation. Accounting, finance, marketing are all traditional business classes that have been adjusted and tailored for the engineering population. Accounting, for example, is financial and managerial accounting combined into a single class. So similar to leadership and organizational behavior, you are getting a lot of these business type classes that have been tailor-made for the engineer. Decision tools is really 407. This is the course that kind of distinguishes this MEM from all others. This is a course that specifically looks at optimization techniques, right? And then technology strategy is the capstone where you bring it all together and you basically put together a strategy for a new technology introduction into the market. Advanced engineering methods courses, you pick 2 of those. Electives, you pick 3 of those. The list is much longer than what we can fit on a chart, but this gives you a sample of the types of courses you can take as part of your elective. You get 5 electives total, right? And within these free electives, I believe you're allowed 2 outside of MEM. So if you wanted to take a course at Kellogg, a course at Siegel, a course at Farley, no problem, right? But there are limits to how many of those you can take. You will receive a core course track. It will plan out your core courses for you. We will let you know the quarter when you need to complete those core courses. So we will sequence them for you and schedule them for you. You can then choose your AEM or your electives based on what's available for the remaining slots in those quarters. You will have an advising session with me, probably in the month of July. A few of you might meet with me in August, but certainly before you arrive on campus in the fall, you will have a Zoom session with me where we talk about your career plans, both outside the campus and on campus, so that we can optimize your time here. You only have one shot at it, and I want it to be your best shot possible, right? So here's a sample course track for the 9-month option on the top, 15-month option on the bottom. And you can see that 436 is typically offered, it looks like it's offered twice in both the spring and the fall. 402, for your purposes, is offered, as well as 407 is offered only in the fall. So this gives you a sense of what your schedule will look like starting fall of 26. And things might change, right? And the following year might be significantly different, but this is what it looks like for next year. If you want to do a front-loaded 15-month option, you can take the bulk of your core courses. What we're doing here is trying to level load it as much as we can. So you take 2 core courses per quarter, with finishing up your 7th core class in the fall of 20. This will be the fall of 27, right? That gives you electives and core classes that you can choose from for fall and winter. You'll notice there's only 1 elective in the spring. That means you're finishing the spring quarter with 11 completed courses, right? Why is that? Well, if you had finished the 12th course, the government would say you're done if you're an F1 student. So you'd be completed with your degree. Those who don't want to complete that quickly will take that final course in the fall and possibly have an internship or a job lined up, sometimes, many times, not in the Chicago area. You could be in California, Seattle, Austin, Texas, right? So in that case, you'll have to complete that course and possibly have to commute back and forth. So this fall course is your 436 course. It's offered on Saturdays. So you can come in on a Friday night, leave on a Saturday night, and continue working throughout the week. Some degree enhancements. These are ways to enhance your experience on campus beyond the degree of MEM itself. Let's start with what other programs look like, right? And I've highlighted the programs that we share. The suite, we have a teaching suite over in the North Parking Garage complex. MLDS and MSIT are shared programs, meaning we share the physical space. You'll probably get to know these folks almost as well as your fellow MEM students, right? All these other programs, MBP, EDI, MPD, MSR, et cetera, those are scattered across the technology campus. So they're not necessarily going to be in the same building with you, but they are programs that have interesting courses that you might want to take as an elective, right? There are some dual degree programs or joint degree programs. MBAI is considered a joint degree with Kellogg, meaning it's a collaboration. Triple M is a dual degree. So if you were enrolled in Triple M, you would graduate not in 1 year, not in 15 months. It would take you a full 2 years, 24 months, and you'd come out with 2 degrees. So more expensive, more time consuming, and it is an interesting combination of a design innovation master's from McCormick and a traditional MBA from Kellogg. Some optional concentrations as MEM students. So you can pick one of these, from managerial analytics to product management, project and process management, and operations and supply chain. To date, I would say product management and maybe operations and supply chain are 2 of our more popular concentrations. Project and process management is a close third. Managerial analytics is trailing behind. But in general, these are the 4 concentrations that you can earn. Pick one or pick none. You don't have to pick any of them. You do not need to have a concentration. If you want to take courses from all 4 concentrations, more power to you. That's certainly allowed. Now, in addition to concentrations, you could do a minor, and a minor is awarded by McCormick, and we have 4 of them. At least we have 4 now, right? We might have more in the future, but entrepreneurship coming out of the Farley Center, cybersecurity coming out of the MSIT program, scientific computing and synthetic biology. Right now, I would say probably entrepreneurship is our most popular, but I think cybersecurity will quickly catch up. It's also the newest concentration we have. If you don't know, you should know by now, there's something called the Kellogg Abrams Climate Academy. They're taking applications right now and probably for the next 30 days. It's graduate, obviously graduate only. It's 3 courses spread over 3 quarters. So it consumes 3 of your 5 electives. Gone. right? Just like that. However, you do get a certificate from Kellogg. They are treating you as a fellow. This is considered a fellowship. No, there's no funding here, but there is some interesting content specific to the climate and the climate issues that the world is facing. Um, Field trips, guest speakers, projects with industry, all of that is bundled into the ACA. I encourage you to check it out. Right now, we have 6 students. I think this is the inaugural year. I'm pretty sure it is. Um, they want more MEM students. They like MEM students. They target us in particular. So you will not feel like an outsider there. They will welcome you with open arms, and they do want you to apply. So if you're interested, please pursue that. There's a link here below. All right, things to keep in mind. I've laid out a lot of stuff. There's a lot of great enhancements, but there's only 12 courses in the program, and if you're full time, you'll only be here for 9 or 15 months. We will only really be able to accommodate one of them, unless you're able to go, beyond 12 or 13 classes and go into, say, 14 or 15 classes. You can only earn one of those degree enhancements: a concentration, a minor, or the ACA fellowship. Pick one. Or none. You don't have to pick any of them. You can literally pick a whole bunch of different courses in a whole bunch of different areas and be, as flexible as you like without having to focus on a concentration or a minor or what the ACA requires. So some activities, pre-orientation, that I think you'll find helpful here. We do have a resource center. It's loaded into what we call Canvas, which is our course management software. Canvas is a one-stop shop for program and university information. There's a lot of great stuff there, from onboarding, orientation, registration, policies, and employment, career resources, event announcements, SAB elections, graduation. It's all up there, right? Starting June 1st, which is barely, about a week from now, a little bit more than a week from now, you'll be able to join and see all this information and start to understand the timelines and what's expected of you and some deliverables from you to us, right? There's a prep module for pre-orientation. Several assignments will be assigned to you as an incoming student. The first is probably the area of interest survey, which is basically trying to understand what if any of these enhancements you want to pursue. Are you on the 9 or 15-month plan? What kind of constraints or what kind of opportunities are you looking for? And then lastly, there is an advising session sign up where you'll be able to click a link and schedule some time with me, usually half an hour. I'll ask you questions like, what are you trying to achieve? What are your goals? And then I'll try to fit that into our curriculum, or maybe it's the other way around. I'm fitting the curriculum into your goals, right? Either way, I think these are 2 essential steps in your process here. This is a little kind of quick blurb of what it looks like. This is a snapshot of what the Student Resource Center looks like. There's a lot of sections to it. I hope you spend some quality time with this. The more time you spend here, the better you'll understand the program and better prepared you'll be for the program. Here's the survey. There's a sign up for advising. There's a handbook. There's all sorts of things, including a student biography and resume, orientation, all these things that some of it is paperwork, yes, and some of it is, getting you ready for the fall, right? All right, so we want your area of interest done by the 22nd of June. We would like your course track in your hands by the 29th of June, so it's about a week later. You'll have your advising session with me in July, maybe a few of you in August. The core course tracks are reviewed by the program, and students will receive their finalized core course track the last week of August. So things are a little bit flexible during most of the summer, but by the end of August, you'll have a pretty well locked in schedule of core classes, right? So this is the same information in the table format. If you want to defer or you think you might be deferring, you have until August 1st to finalize that. OISS has their own orientation, Office of International Scholar Services, September 16th. These are your go-to people on anything related to your visa, assuming you're here on a visa, right? There's a grad student resource fair, which will give you exposure to all sorts of opportunities and resources across the campus for grads. September 17th, our orientation is in the afternoon that same day. The resource fair is in the morning that day, okay? We have a second day for orientation, and then we have classes starting the 21st of September. So these are the key dates. We do expect you at the orientation on the 17th and 18th. We will cover a lot of information from the dean's office, information from me, the staff from MEM, the headshot photos will be covered, SAB members will be there, and then a student reception and network with faculty will be at the very end of that session. So outside the classroom, right, there is a video that will help you, in my mind, give you the best advice as to how to get the most out of your experience here on campus. We really expect you to come to campus in the fall with an updated LinkedIn profile, updated resume, right? Your job hunt and a fundamental strategy behind that job hunt. If you work for Deloitte, for example, in India, well, talk to the Deloitte Chicago people immediately when you get here so that you're not overlooking any opportunities that leverage your experience, leverage your legacy. Get yourself organized, right? If you don't have a very solid electronic calendar where you can house calendar events, if you're not used to looking at email, connect your Northwestern email to your personal email so no email gets lost. Pay close attention to emails and announcements, especially from Renaissance, because she's trying to run the program and she's going to be giving you not just advice, but direction, and expect responses from you in a timely way, right? Start with a project in mind. If you have an interest in, I don't know, if you have an interest in commodities, if you have an interest in AI, if you have an interest in analytics or data science, whatever it is, start thinking about a project that you can apply your skills, that you would be capable and interested in pursuing for at least 6 to 9 months. And that way you'll have a project that keeps almost like as a connector to all the other coursework and content you'll be taking. And you'll have an artifact at the end that you can share with employers to say, this is what I did. We had one student who did a research project on trading and trade zones in Thailand, right? Another one who did commodities on graphite, did complete graphite analysis. Another one looked at lithium battery production for Tesla to see if it makes sense to go into the lithium processing business for Tesla. So things like that frankly help students get jobs and help you focus your work onto something that's very tangible and specific to you. Career resources, ECD, engineering career development, NCA. The engineering jobs are fundamentally at ECD, and the, consulting jobs, really, for the most part, are at NCA. They have career fairs, they have company visits, they have resume reviews, they have mock interviews, they have all sorts of workshops. Please plug into them, get on their mailing list, and get to know these folks, because if it comes to CPT, you're going to process your CPT in the summer of 27 with ECD. They're the folks that process that. So get to know them, get to know their resources and what they're here to help you. Ways to earn money, being a TA, a grader, a virtual class monitor, either at McCormick, Farley, Medill, or Kellogg. Projects with corporate clients, working on campus at the library, the laboratories, the gym. There's a whole website here, and this is a great resource for you, not just now, but for the next probably 6 to 9 months. That'll help you find on-campus employment. So check that out. This is way too long a list to go through today, now, at this moment, just to give you a sense of activities beyond the classroom that are MEM centered. We have connections with the IEEE, with the PDMA, the PMI, and COSI. I will keep you posted as best I can about events in these areas and these societies. This is your connection to working professionals in the Chicago area. This will help you plug in to opportunities, jobs, and issues that professionals are having across the area. The transportation center is something, if you're interested in logistics, we have a world-class transportation center, right? If you're interested in international work at all, the Buffett Center for Global Studies. If you're interested in the environment and energy or anything related to sustainability, I would say go to ISIN. Now, I think it's now called Treenan's Institute. Either way, right? Invo, if you're interested in being an invention manager, there's clubs both here at Kellogg and at McCormick, as well as the university-wide. including sports clubs. If you're interested in soccer, you can join a soccer club, right? We, MEM, have pioneered, I guess, three different clubs: the Product Management Club, the Project Management Club, and the Energy Club. We every year we're looking for leaders, people who are willing to step forward to kind of help lead those clubs. There's a Climate Tech Club and a Rotary Club outside of MEM. And there's also student life activities where I mentioned before, 300 clubs just for students, both grad and undergrads. So if you want to put together a car, rockets, model airplanes, all sorts of different things, very hands-on, some of them, right? We have a solar car club. I think we have an electric car club. We have a Baja car club. We have all car clubs. We have no shortage of car clubs, right? So lots of things you can plug into here, as well as music, theater, cooking, etc. Field trips, workshops. We will be organizing some of them out of MEM. We normally visit Chicago Tube and Iron every year. We normally visit Motorola. We occasionally visit places like United Airlines or Invenergy. So we try to get you out as much as we possibly can. There's at least 3 or 4 incubators outside of the Northwestern incubator on campus. 1871 is a digital incubator. ISTP is more or less a chemical and pharmaceutical incubator. And then there's one called M-Hub, which is a mechanical incubator that's not on this chart, but it's worth noting because we have really good relationships with them, and they have a lot of great resources that are, circuit board and assembly and welding and all sorts of things that are very hands-on and more mechanically oriented. Student projects, some classes require them. Some of them are outside the class that are considered, extracurricular and optional. And then we do have Mark Johnson, who is our EIR, that helps coordinate all that for us. In terms of housing, university housing, there's at least 2, Engelhart on the north side and Garrett Place, and also on the north side, but also on the south side is McManus. Probably a little bit more family friendly if you're coming with a spouse or your child. McManus is also closer to the downtown area of Evanston, so a little bit more accessible for shopping and things like that. Rental apartments, the whole area along Ridge between Davis and Church are pretty popular areas for renting apartments. And I'm sure along Chicago Avenue is great if you want to access the Northwestern bus line. This is some pictures of our engineering spaces. Most of these are of Ford, the Ford Design Building. The lower right is the student shop, which is pretty elaborate. It's 3 floors, right? So they have 3D printers, laser cutters, woodworking, metalworking, everything you would expect a shop to have. What's beautiful about this is it's really dedicated to students, so you won't have interference from faculty doing faculty research. Some of these pictures are also of the Sealy Mud facility, which is a relatively new library, which is right across from the north parking garage facility where you'll be taking your classes. This is some pictures of some networking events that we've had. Well, this is our industry night. I think most of these are industry night pictures. This is typically held in February. It's usually one night where we bring in alumni, corporate sponsors, corporate partners, etc. So it's really a pretty fantastic evening of both information and networking and hopefully job opportunities, right? How do you stay connected, right? Well, we have MEM alumni, right? So Sneha and Iqbal and Julian and Jennifer and Ian. Some of these folks, like Julian, are actually on faculty. So is Ian. Some of these others, like Sneha and Jennifer and Iqbal, they are on the SAB, or I'm sorry, the IAB, the Industrial Advisory Board. So these are folks, in the case of Sneha, she graduated almost a dozen years ago, and she's been working at Baxter in Deerfield ever since. So 12 years, very happy, very settled, got a house, got a spouse, got a child, got it all. So Iqbal, he climbed the ladder. I mean, he really went up there. He became CTO of Motorola Mobility, of a company called Cerence. Julian went in a slightly different direction. He's an alum as well. All these people are alum. Julian is basically running a venture capital firm, and he teaches a class for us on VC. So all these folks are here to give back to you to kind of help you connect with anything that will help your career, right? You can join our LinkedIn page. I encourage you to do that. Check out our YouTube channel. There's quite a bit of information there as well. And we do have Amjed. I'm hoping Amjed is with us. Amjed, are you online?
He's not on yet, but he'll be on in a few minutes. So I thought maybe we could answer some questions while we
Sure.
waited.
That's good. Okay. Am I seeing any questions?
Was this all very straightforward, everyone? No one has any questions?
It was all self-evident. It was so obvious. So maybe the question I have for you is Renaissance. What did I miss? What should I have covered that I didn't cover? Or what should I have emphasized that I didn't emphasize?
I don't think you missed anything. I think the only thing I can think of is some people might be curious about registration. Registration works a little bit different for students when they first start the program. So they are not enrolled in classes until much closer to the start of the quarter. So it will be sometime in September when you're able to enroll in courses. But you will know what courses that you are going to want to enroll in when you have your advising meeting with Mark, and he'll discuss electives, and then you'll get your core track, and so you'll know what core courses you're going to enroll in. But it's just the way that the university works, in that new students enroll later, just closer to the quarter.
I'm seeing a question in the chat about who should I reach out to for career planning advice at this stage? Well, I guess the first thing I would encourage you to do is to get your LinkedIn profile up to date, get your resume up to date, start thinking about what industries you might be interested in, what companies and what kind of roles. I will meet with you in July and we can talk then. If you really want to talk to somebody right now, was it too early to talk to ECD Renaissance?
It may be too early for incoming students because they haven't matriculated fully into the new system, or this, I'm not the new system, but the student system. So for talking about career advice going to ECD, you'll need to wait until September for that.
But you can always talk to alumni and people, for example, like Asghar Ali. He works at Google. He's been there for I think 3 or 4 years. He's been there ever since he graduated from MEM. Senior guy, senior TPM over there. He's got a lot of advice for folks. He's very open to talking to folks, but you don't have to you don't have to limit yourself to Asghar. Almost any of the folks on the IAB, the Industrial Advisory Board, which is a link on our website, you can talk to them, and they're very happy to meet with you. Right. The probability and statistics course, you'll be automatically enrolled starting. It'll start in just a couple of weeks, right? Renaissance.
So the course starts June 22, and you don't need to enroll yourself. You are not charged for the course, and you don't receive credit for the course. So you don't go through the typical enrollment process, but you're added to the Canvas site, and the program will handle that. You will be added in the second week of June, and we will send an announcement out to you when we're adding you.
So there is a question about the current batch of students and how are they finding the job market. And I'll be honest with you, it's a difficult market. The traditional hiring companies, the FANGs of the world, are not hiring as they used to. Tesla, I think, is a bit of an exception. They seem to be hiring. In fact, one of our students just got a job at Tesla. They're finding job opportunities with startups a lot easier than the larger companies. Operations and supply chain people are finding it easier than product management people. So if you're on the fence between different concentrations, operations and supply chain seems to be getting better traction. The other thing I'm hearing, which is a little bit odd, is that internships are harder to find than full-time jobs. But the thing with full-time jobs is you can't really talk to folks about that until maybe April, May, only because, in March, if they talk to you, they want to hire you right away. And so in that sense, the timing is a little bit off. But in general, they are finding jobs at a maybe 50, 60% level. So not everyone, by far, not everyone, but a good number have. And yes, some people have found internships, but most of the ones who found jobs are actually saying that it's easier to find the full-time job. And in that sense, they're switching from 15 months to 9 months, as opposed to the other way around, where they used to like switch from 9 months to 15. So you have typically until February or thereabouts to figure out whether you're on the 9 or 15 month plan, unless you know for certain up front, which some people do, right? If you're on the fence, you can literally take some time to figure that out. I think we
Right,
have,
I'm gonna pause the question since we have Amjed on.
yeah, let's go
And so I'm
on.
gonna give him some time.
Amjed Shafique, you are an MEM alum. You've been a great teacher for us in the 407 class, which is our operations research class. Welcome and share your wisdom with the crowd.
Oh, all right. That's a tough thing to share my wisdom, but but all right. So I'm just Shafiq. So actually I see my slide here. So I started in 2001, and it took me about 3 years to finish it because I was a part-time student. And I've been teaching 407, I think since 2015, 14 or 15. I think 13 or 14. So it's quite a few years. And for the last 6 or 7 years, I'm also teaching supply chain management. And is there anything particular that, Mark, you want me to cover, or should I leave it open as a question for
Yes, maybe
students to
your
ask?
career, how did MEM impact your career, right?
Okay, so MEM impacted me from the very first day I joined MEM. So when I took the first class with the person who's here, his name is Mark Gorwet, and he taught me negotiation skills. So I learned the negotiation skills, went back to my boss, and I said, like, I want a promotion, and with all the right approval and everything. So I got promoted several times while I was a student. By the time I, like reached my graduation, I was leading a couple of engineering departments with the new product development as a primary focus. So I did that for a few years, and then I got into a completely different trajectory, got into a project management, program management roles in financial institutes, educate, like Chicago Public School, and then Bank of Montreal, and recently I've been working at IRS. So very different, diverse type of setup. What MEM does is it takes your mindset out and say, okay, you are not an engineer anymore. You are anything that you want to be. And that is the beauty of MEM, that you can really think beyond what you have the backgrounds. A lot of students, like during the classes, they come to me and say, oh, I'm a software engineer and I'm looking for a software engineer jobs. And I said, why? Because you can do a lot more than that. You can get into the whole purpose of this engineering management is so you can jump into a management role. So for the last 15 or so years, I've been doing management consultants with different consulting with different organizations, and so different type of roles. Most of those roles are in program project management or data analytics and things like that. So MEM is just, it's going to be one of the best things that you will see. You will have a very good variety of courses to take, and everything that you're going to take there, it will have a very practical implication. And I can tell you for sure for this 407 and supply chain, you can talk to the previous students and all that. It's going to be a little bit on the tougher side. I won't sugarcoat it that, like it's going to be a breeze. It's going to be a little bit of challenging because we are going to talk about a lot of in-depth analysis. Let's say for 407, we do everything in terms of optimization, linear programming, simulations, things like that. So you're going to learn it. If you have a prior experience, it's going to be a plus. But I will start off that assuming that nobody has any prior experience. And for the supply chain, we will look at it from the definitions of or different terms in supply chain, but we quickly jump into how to mathematically benefit from supply chain. What type of mathematical analysis we can do to improve our supply chain capabilities and other, like throughputs, things like that. So different, both courses are very different in terms of expectations, but one thing that is very key in all of those is that I give the lecture for the first hour and a half or so. And then for each class, the students are broken down into random teams of three or four. So I do a team selection myself every week. You work on an assignment that is pre-assigned to you like at least a week ago before your class. And then you come back and you share your findings. The whole purpose of this one is that what you have learned in the class in the first half and 1.5 hours, you got to apply it the same day. And then at the end of the class, you are able to teach it. So by touching something multiple times, two, three times, you get a very good understanding of what it should be. And my purpose is by the time we end the class, the day, at night, you can teach that to someone else. And if we do that, that is the best thing that I could expect. Mark, did I cover enough or do you want me to cover
I
more?
think you did a great job. Yeah. Are there any questions for Amjed? I mean, he's been an alum for more than what, a decade, what, decade and a half?
Almost
Almost.
more than 2 decades.
More than 2 decades, and you've been teaching with us for what, 6, 7 years minimum? So,
No, I've been teaching I started teaching in 2014. So
wow,
12,
12 years.
12
Wow,
years.
that's
Yeah.
amazing. Time is really flying by, right? Um,
Yeah.
so any questions for Amjad while we have him? So for those who don't know operations research, right, I guess maybe how would you describe it to the layperson in terms of, the decision tools that you go through in the class and how does it help them become a better manager?
The simplest way to explain it is let the data do the talking. So you don't just say, okay, this is what I feel. You back it up with data. And you back it up with not just the data, you back it up with the optimized, most efficient data.
Got
So
it.
you
Okay.
run the analysis and then you make sure that you cover all the constraints, all the objectives. And a lot of time when you are trying to solve something, you have a lot of conflicting constraints. So how do you manage that and still be able to come up with the best, most optimal design? That's what the decision tools for manager is going to be focusing on.
And I guess it fundamentally rests on the idea that every decision has trade-offs. And those trade-offs have to be balanced against your objective. So you have to define your objective very specifically, very mathematically. And in that context, right, you can come up with the quote unquote optimal solution using mathematical techniques and not necessarily intuition or guesswork or hunches or previous, those decisions in the past. You don't have to be bound by those things. You can be instead bound by the constraints of the situation, right? And the constraints could be dollars, could be people, could be time, could be a whole bunch of things, right?
Absolutely. So I think Rishad has a question. How do your course look like? Actually, both courses, 407 and 414, completely different. So 414 it will have a project. So right from this week two, you will be forming your own teams and then you will be working on a project. And at the end of the course, you will be delivering that project. And I have very strict rubrics and criteria. And one of the key thing is no matter which project you're working on, you are going to be looking at it. What is my project going to bring benefit to society? So the keyword is benefit to society. For MEM 407, we don't have a project, but we have a weekly homework, and the homework takes a good, like if you're very attentive in the class, about 5 to 6 hours. If you're, like just not enjoying or staying up in the class or not studying ahead of the class, like lecture, it could take you a lot longer. So the thing is, for my classes, it's always beneficial. You study ahead. I provide all the PowerPoint slides, all those things at least a week ahead, so you will have ample time to work on. Did I answer your question, Rishad?
Looks like you did. I guess there's another question here that says, outside of
Oh,
academics, what did you like most about Northwestern during your time as a student?
oh, that is actually, I
Well, you
loved
were,
everything about Northwestern when I was a student. So when I was a student, if I'm not in the classroom, I was actually still part-time student, you will find me in the gym. And I was very much into squash and racquetball at that time. And I am still very active in those sports. So plus there is a lagoon, and right there you just sit down on the rocks and just chill. That is the best thing that I like about it.
So being right next to the lake on Lake Michigan, right?
So Vijay, my courses are graded just like any other course. So there will be like a set criteria, what will be considered as A or B or C. The thing is, if you take if you take more than 2 days off, your grade will be like going down by at least a full grade level. So if you get an A and you do not come to the class or you're not active in the class, it will go down by one full grade.
Are you using
Suppose
Minitab?
Minitab. No, I do not use Minitab. I use Excel. So you are going to learn a lot of Excel functions. So if you have time now, what I would strongly suggest is you learn the VLOOKUPs, if statements, and pivot tables are like, okay. But some products, there are a few basic terms, but the VLOOKUP is one of the most challenging one for some of the students that I have seen. So they find that VLOOKUP is a bit challenging. But we will cover that in the classroom. But if you have a prior knowledge, that will be very helpful.
There's still a question about careers, I guess, the slowdown in the economy and how to navigate the lack of job opportunities. Any thoughts there?
Actually, a lot of students, even in the current quarter, they are getting something. So it's, like you still have to apply. And with the AI, it makes it a lot easier because you have an opportunity. You help the AI, like draft your or create your resume, get yourself prepared for it. And what I would suggest is, like use that AI to the max and when you're applying for the jobs and make sure that you are hitting the ATS scores of really high. So that is, but students are getting. So Northwestern actually sells the name, the brand actually sells by itself. So at least you will get some interviews rather than if you go to like some other schools. So
And don't rely just on like LinkedIn where it says do quick apply because there's 1,000 other people doing quick apply or apply now. Take the time to tailor your resume, tailor your cover letter, really investigate the company, know something about it, especially if you're going in for an interview. I mean, once they call you in for that interview, you should not be asking questions that have easy answers that could be looked up in 2 minutes. It shows that you weren't really doing your homework. So I would recommend, all of the above, but also be open to internships at startups. Go to places like MHub where there's 100 startups under one roof. Most of them are looking for help, right? Consider being a founder. Consider being one of the early stage employees. Consider companies outside of your normal domain. Medical and healthcare are huge in this area. And a lot of students that we get from overseas don't even think about healthcare. But healthcare is what, 16 or 17% of the GDP of the country, right?
exactly. The other thing, Mark, if I would add is wherever you get the opportunity, do the networking and do the active networking, not the passive networking.
Yep.
So I hope everybody knows the difference between the two. But the main thing is I see people going into networking and they just waste the time. That is the opportunity to shine. And you need to make sure that when you leave that event, you are leaving a mark on that event. So somebody really wants to talk to you more. So it's not like you want to talk to them. Just make sure that you prep ahead who's going to be at the networking session. So they want to talk to you. And actually last quarter, we had this supply chain project. And every time the students they go to those events, they talk about their projects. There was another student last year, we had a project on hydrogen in supply chain class. The student actually got the job at Tesla talking about that project. So whatever you're going to learn at Northwestern, make sure that that becomes part of your conversation, and it's going to help you.
I got a great example here. One of my students from maybe 7 or 8 years ago, Patricio, he was from Mexico. He was a supply chain guy. You probably remember him, Amjed. He was big into logistics. I told him to hang out at the transportation center, which he did. He had his own startup, so he had plenty to talk about. His startup was all about logistics and how do you automate logistics using various tools. And he met a lot of VPs and CEOs and CLOs of different companies. And by April, I think it was March or April, he got a job offer from Union Pacific Railway as the director of operations. This is a guy who comes into MEM as a senior engineer. So he's a senior engineer coming in. And for some reason, he struck up a really great conversation with this Union Pacific guy who was really impressed with his startup. And he offered him a directorship job, and he took it right away. He's based in Mexico City, so he's back home. He's on U.S. payroll, so he's getting paid a bump. He's bumped up. He's got a company car. He's been there the whole time, never left. He's been there 7 or 8 years. Very happy guy. His wife was ecstatic to go back home and be back in Mexico City. And clearly networking at the transportation center was the key to his getting a job offer, right? I think.
There is another, like a classic example of a student. His name is Asghar Ali, MEM student. He came in. We had experience in India, but he got a senior program management role at Google. He impressed everybody. He prepped it, and a lot of students still reach out to him for advice. And almost every year he comes to my supply chain class as like a guest speaker for, like 30, 40 minutes to just answer any questions and things like that. So he's a great resource as well.
Yeah, I would say almost all of the alum that are on the IAB page are great resources. So I believe we're running out of time. I guess the last question is, what's the best places and events to network? PMI meetings, PDMA meetings, IEEE meetings, transportation center, conferences, seminars, workshops. I don't know how to rank order them, but they're all great examples of where you can network and meet working professionals, right? Anything
And
else?
the last example of students non-traditional background, do we even allow those students to join the MEM?
Well, I mean, we have STEM people, obviously SAS. We get people from computer science,
Okay, yeah.
people like Oracle folks. I mean, we get a
But
whole,
those are considered as technology, right?
other than tech and mechanical, chemical, we have chemical engineers, petroleum engineers, people from Saudi Arabia that come to us working in the oil and gas fields. So, I mean, I don't know if that's considered non-traditional. Um, Chemical engineers tend to be really good at entrepreneurship because there's so many opportunities to bring new chemistry and new chemical engineering, opportunities to the world. So, anyways, we are out of time. I want to thank you all. Thank you, Amjed. You did a great job. Thanks to the staff that are online, Renaissance and everybody else. Nick, thank you again. If you have any other questions, feel free to send it to mem@northwestern.edu and keep up with your Canvas site. And we will see you in the fall. Take care, everybody.
All right. Have a good one. Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care.